Hey.
Hey, shucky ducky quack quack.
What does that mean?
I don't know, but it's spooky season. I'm
Okay.
spooked out, and we're gonna talk about sex.
Oh boy.
It's Limelight Live.
Back, baby.
Step into the limelight.
I think we need to make up a dance.
A dance?
We need to make up a dance to the song. We need to have like our own choreography and like make a TikTok.
Oh
Your
yeah.
TikTok, because I don't have one.
I don't. I don't even use my TikTok.
You have one. I
What?
don't.
What are we gonna say? What
We're
are we
just
gonna
gonna make up a
do?
dance to the
You know what?
song.
We had a song in New Orleans, and I forgot the name of the song, but it was like, in part of it says "Put your L's up" for Louisiana,
Okay.
and the guy who made it, he's from my hometown, Laplace. So,
Okay.
and we call Laplace L Town. So it was like "Put your L's up," and it was like a popular song.
I wouldn't want to put L's up. That
But
sounds
Limelight Live.
I know, but okay, you're right. You're right. All right. Okay. All right. Welcome, everyone. It is the last Thursday in October. Can you believe it? Thank you for rocking with us once again. We are Limelight Live. I am Sharique LeMay, and of course, I'm always here with
J. Pinkett, you know what it is. I've missed you, girl. You had me here 2 weeks without you,
I'm sorry.
and it was not the same.
I'm sorry.
Shout out to Catherine. Shout out to Calvin and
Yes.
Josh Hart and everyone else who was here. But no,
PLP held it down.
my energy works with my girl, and I missed you.
I missed you too, but it was definitely great tuning in and being able to call in. So shout out to the good news for having all the right technology. You heard me?
Okay, yeah.
Did they get a-
Yes, there we go. Please.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm happy to be back. I don't plan on not being here for a little while now. So, you know,
Okay.
gotta-
Actually, next week I won't be here.
and we will have the lovely Miss Catherine back. So
Yeah.
we have an interesting topic next week, but I'm excited about this topic. I'm not gonna lie to you, it's spooky season. I'm a little spooked to even be having this conversation
Ooh.
because I don't be talking about this. I'm
Okay.
a very private Beyonce like person,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but I think it's a very important topic to have discussion over. And, you know, coincidentally, some things came out in the media today that I think was quite
This
appropriate.
week that
Yeah,
makes it make sense. But yes,
definitely.
ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about sex.
Yes. But before we get into that, you know, we got to hit y'all with the flashlight.
You already know.
So
Yes.
we have quite a bit of them. You want to kick it off?
I'll kick it off
All
with
right.
like the biggest one that's kind of been making its rounds in the news for the past week.
Stop.
Which I know you've heard about. I mean, if you haven't heard about it, this whole situation from the shooting at the Rust film project that starred Alec Baldwin.
Produced by and starring.
Produced and starred by starring Alec Baldwin, in where a gun on set was fired during a rehearsal and fatally shot Helena Hutchins.
Yes, she was the DP.
Yes, and then it injured a
the
director.
Correct.
He's okay. He's actually made a statement.
Mm.
Hold on. His name is Joel, and he speaks out. The injured Joel Sousa.
The director.
Yes. So injured Rust director Joel Sousa breaks his silence about the death of Helena Hutchins. This is according to E! News, but he's issued a statement as he recovers from his injuries sustained from an accidental on-set shooting, which led to the death of his co-worker, cinematographer Helena Hutchins. The 42-year-old director of photography died after being shot by a prop gun that cast member and co-producer Alec Baldwin fired on the set of Sousa's film Rust on a New Mexico ranch on Thursday, October 21st. This was last week. Sousa was only 48. So young.
Yeah.
So Joel says, "I am gutted by the loss of my friend and colleague Helena," the director said in a statement to NBC News on Saturday, October 22nd, in what marked his first public comments about the shooting. "She was kind, vibrant, incredibly talented, fought for every inch, and always pushed me to be better. better. My thoughts are with her family at this most difficult time. He
Mm.
continues, I am humbled and grateful by the outpouring of affection we have received from our filmmaking community, the people of Santa Fe, and the hundreds of strangers who have reached out. It will surely aid in my recovery. Because Joel was shot as well.
Right.
It's not fatally. He's okay now. He was in critical condition. But
That's just crazy.
unfortunately, Helena, which was she was very well respected in the industry.
Yeah, definitely. I know, me being a person who works on set and having connections with a lot of crew members, a lot of people were posting about her.
Yeah.
So it definitely hits my community. On top of the fact that we're still kind of dealing with this whole strike situation with IATSE. Me as a producer, I'm not a part of the IATSE, but I, deal on a regular basis with these people, and it's
Yep.
just kind of like this is what we've been talking about.
Mhm.
Our safety. When it comes to workplace habits and people taking accountability for us,
Mhm.
and not just doing things recklessly.
Exactly.
It just sounds completely reckless what happened. They said that there was a young lady who was actually responsible for the gun. She was like the designated person,
Yeah.
and she didn't know what she was doing. She admitted it before this happened. She was on an actual radio show,
Yeah.
and she spoke about it, and it's just like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
You know.
So what I found interesting is that the crew that was originally on the production walked out
Mm.
because of unsafe working conditions.
Mhm.
And this included everything from props, and it also included COVID protocol.
Mhm.
And so there were a lot of complaints, the long hours, basically everything that is being fought with IATSE right now, currently, right?
Right.
And so they were addressing those things to production, and the needs and their voices were not being heard.
Mm.
So the core crew left. And so then they brought in non-union workers to fill their roles.
Mm.
And so obviously they weren't like, they were cutting corners
Of
so that they could pay people
course.
less.
Of course.
And people who were just looking for work. And
Mhm.
here they go, they get on board, and nothing was up to standard, nothing was up to protocol. So it's not surprising that something like this fell through the cracks. And this is a big thing.
Which is sad. It's completely sad.
So sad.
And it's happened before. I mean, I don't remember if you remember Bruce Lee's son had
Yep.
passed away on the set of Crow. Very, very similar situation.
Yeah.
And I heard that there was another actor, maybe in the 80s, the same thing had happened to.
Mhm.
So, you
My
would
thing
think,
is, why is even a gun loaded? Like,
y'all can't just
this is the
get
movies.
fake plastic guns
For what? Like, what? In what sense does it make? How realistic does it need to be? I don't need it to be that real. Like, sound effects are good.
What's crazy to me is the fact that I saw a picture of the actual church that they were shooting in, that she and the director were shot.
Mhm.
And I guess it was an actual scene where he was shooting directly at the camera.
Yeah.
Because that was the effect that they were trying to have, is him, shooting at whoever he was shooting at and having that angle.
Yeah.
And to just think that she's just standing there, not knowing
Not
literally
expecting
what's
that
about to hit
yeah.
her. Like, that is terrifying. I've been on so
Terrifying.
many sets. I've never dealt with prop guns and things like that. But just to think
I've been on one
I could
set.
be standing there. You know
I've
what
been
I
on
mean?
one set where there was a gun involved, and I wasn't. I did wardrobe for this
Mhm.
one film, and I remember them being very clear. Like, they had to announce to the entire crew, even people who weren't going to be on set,
Mhm.
a gun is on set for this day. It'll be
Mhm.
on during these hours. It's not loaded. It's just like it was a whole thing that
Mhm.
needed to happen. And I'm wondering if that even happened.
Yes, they apparently, the person who handed it to Mr. Baldwin said cold gun, meaning that it wasn't live, meaning there were no rounds, which apparently
That
someone
was
didn't check.
inaccurate. So it was a hot gun.
Yes.
Because Alec said himself, he was like, never in all of his career has he ever been handed a hot gun on any set.
So then it makes you wonder, I know some people, of course, I feel horrible for him. He has to feel absolutely devastated.
He's canceled all of his projects.
Yeah, he has to be completely devastated. I couldn't imagine.
Mhm.
And I'm sure even with him being the producer, he's probably running through his mind, what could I have done differently?
Yeah.
I just feel like there, obviously after this, there has to be some sort of protocol set so that, 1, 2, 3 people are triple checking to make
Yeah.
sure that these guns are, better yet, let's just get rid of the guns. Don't need to be
They
there.
don't need to be there. They don't need to be
It is
there.
an independent film.
Yeah.
I don't know what the budget was.
But still, I mean, non-real guns are
We
probably
can make
cheaper.
some little plastic guns and make them go bang,
I
bang
hit up
in post.
Anisha, for those of you who know our good friend Anisha,
Right. Hey, Niche, boy,
my
hey.
sister, she works on set. She's a stunt woman. I text her. I said, I don't ever want to see you playing with no guns on nobody's set.
Right.
No one's.
Right.
She was like, don't worry, I won't.
Nope, we coming drag your
But
behind
yeah,
up out of there. But this
but
is very unfortunate.
it's
We'll be following
unfortunate.
it.
We'll be following. I mean, and things still keep coming up. I mean, just
Yeah.
people. What I'm reading from people right now is that there was the assistant director who handled Alec Baldwin's prop gun was terminated
Mm,
from a previous film after a firearm incident.
I
His
heard
name is
about that.
David Halls, and he was reportedly the assistant director on the film Freedom's Path in 2019 when a
Yeah.
gun unexpectedly discharged on the Arkansas set, causing a crew member injury.
See, it makes you wonder then who is then responsible. I know there's a lot of
Right.
responsibility on the assistant director, but then what about the responsibility for the producer? Just there's just so many. There just should be a professional. If you absolutely have to use real guns,
Mm-hmm.
there should be a professional, and it should be triple, quadruple checked. And should nobody be standing in the pathway of where the gun is pointing? Period.
Right.
So peace and love to her family, her friends,
Yeah.
her loved ones, everyone who is affected by this. It's really, really unfortunate, but I do think that there's a reckoning happening within the entertainment industry,
Yep.
specifically with crews and cast.
Yep.
And some things are going to change, hopefully for the better in the very near
Absolutely.
future. So yes, rest in peace to Helena.
Yeah.
And
Helena Hutchins.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, definitely.
Moving on. It is Halloween. Halloween is on Sunday, the 31st. What are you dressing up as?
I said I'm either going to be a bottle of hand sanitizer or the COVID-19 vaccine, specifically Moderna,
Okay.
because a black woman made it.
All right, Moderna mommy. Okay.
What about you?
So there's a couple of functions happening, and I said I'm only getting dressed for one of them.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I'm gonna go as a pirate.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a
Like
costume.
a Jack Sparrow type pirate, or just like your
Jack
own
Sparrow
thing?
styled, but kind of like my own flair to it. I'm gonna get
Okay.
my braids done. You know what I'm saying?
I have a feeling like Halloween's going to be on 1000 this year because we didn't have one last year.
Right.
So I kind of just want to
Yeah,
stay
and
home.
the invites have come in. Honestly, I want to stay in, but the one function that I was invited to, I was told I should not miss it. I was like, all right, fine, I'll go.
Are they doing they're not doing the parade in West Hollywood, are they?
They did it they didn't do the parade last year, but their people were still out
Of course.
on Santa Monica. So it's like, I imagine they probably are.
Okay.
But
my first year in LA, I went and it was so much fun.
It is fun
And I
because
haven't
like
done it since.
you see how creative people get with their costumes. Like you have to, if you're in LA and maybe Halloween's not your thing, you should at least experience Santa Monica Boulevard once,
At least
because
once.
the costumes are insane, and you just have to hand it to how creative people get.
Yeah.
That's definitely entertaining. Walk it for an hour, say hi to people, take pictures, and then be gone.
It's a good time.
Yeah.
It's a good time.
Yeah.
Well, congrats to everyone who, missed out on Halloween last year and you get to live it up this year. I'm very excited for all of you, and I'll be looking forward to seeing the costumes and shenanigans on social media because I'll be at home.
Okay. This next story makes me really happy.
Yeah.
Regina King.
Yeah.
She is cemented on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Give
the lady her
flowers.
flowers.
Yes, Miss King.
Yes.
I so adore her. I think this is long overdue. I was actually quite surprised that she didn't get it before. But, I think in our community, she's very well respected and recognized. I think she kind of just really started getting that crossover recognition.
Yeah.
Recently with her more recent projects. And did you go to the premiere for the new movie she has coming out? Someone I know went to the premiere.
No, I wasn't there. I saw about it on social media.
Okay. It's slipping my mind the name of
the
it.
Cowboys.
Yeah,
one,
it's
the Western.
it's her and Idris Elba. She's just really been putting her best foot forward, and I'm excited. I watched
because she acts like Regina King acts. She is,
naturally.
She is so convincing. She's a natural. She's amazing.
And she's just been amazing in terms of representation as a producer and director.
Definitely.
So like I actually just watched randomly. I was watching an Issa Rae interview on Breakfast Club. And then the next one came on and it was Issa Rae interviewing Regina King.
Yeah.
And it was a very insightful interview because I didn't know all of Regina King's processes because she's a child star. She started off as a child actress.
Yeah.
And she actually went through like the ABC directors program. She applied for it. And because she was like, I want to work with Shonda Rhimes.
Yeah.
And rather than her just trying to like pull some strings, get her agents to hook it up, she actually applied for this program.
She went through the process.
And went through the whole process.
Yeah.
And like, I just love how humble she is. And yeah, she's Black girl magic all the way. So I'm so happy she got her flowers today.
Yeah.
So, shout out to the girl, Regina King.
Love you, Regina King.
So then since I mentioned it, We got to talk about you guys.
Insecure.
You guys.
It's bittersweet. It really is because we are on the final season of Insecure. This is season 5. It's the culminating season where we're gonna wrap up the stories of these beloved characters. And quite frankly, I mean, I know y'all saw it on social media this past weekend. I mean, there was a
Man.
blitz of promotional events and press things going on with the show on top of Insecure Fest, which I was actually very fortunate to attend.
Were you now?
I was so thankful to be there
Yeah.
because it was an event, honey. Let me
Mhm.
tell you all that happened. First, there was a whole bunch of surprise performances with
Mm.
the including Duckworth. What's the rapper girl's name? Oh, Flo Milli.
Okay.
Flo Milli. Schoolboy Q
Mhm.
had a set. And then to top it off at the end, the surprise performer was Jasmine Sullivan, the Jasmine Sullivan. I mean, and she went off.
Love her. I'm
Went off.
kind of sad I wasn't there.
The whole cast was there. For the most part, they were kind of very accessible. When people wanted to take pictures with them, they took pictures.
Because have we seen your social media? You got pictures with everybody.
I was there with everybody. I didn't take pictures with Issa, but I was next to her at one point. I got to say hello. She said hello back. She was so gracious.
Pictures with her too.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I got one.
old-time
I got
friends.
one in the bookmarks. If you were there, everything was free. The food was free.
Come through budget.
The drinks were free. Everyone got a bag, a hoodie, and a T-shirt, along with one item from 5 of their different vendors.
Okay.
All Black-owned businesses.
Yes.
So there was like a cannabis company, a wellness company, a streetwear brand. There was an apothecary, and so everyone got one.
I know what?
An apothecary.
What is that?
So they sell like sage and crystals
That's
and
what that's called.
yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
So everyone got a pass. So you submit your pass, and after that, you get your bag, your hoodie, and your shirt, and then you get to pick one item for free from any one of these vendors.
Oh wow.
And then there were various setups where from different points of the show. You could take pictures of, like, there was a setup that looked like the front of the Dunes Inn apartments.
I know.
There was another
so
setup from the
cute.
date night from Lawrence and Issa with the clouds hanging. There was another setup of the carousel from Coachella where the famous fellatio, and the sex scene happened with Issa and Kendrick Sampson. Yeah. So there were various things. I think there was even a setup of We Got Y'all.
Yeah, I
The
did see that.
center,
I did
was
see
there. And it was dope. Hooray, her production company, had a presence there. So did Ray Dio, her new Issa's new music venture.
Mhm.
They had a presence. And overall, the thing that really struck me the most about Insecure Fest is the culture. Community that Insecure has created, the cult following that the show has created. Honestly, like, my hat's off to Issa Rae. I'm so inspired by her, and I'm so inspired by what this show has done.
Yeah.
Because we also got a screening of the first episode before it aired, and there was hundreds of people there. We were all watching. I mean, very much everyone was engaged. We all reacted in unison. We cried in unison.
That's
we laughed in
fun.
unison. It was incredible.
That's fun. So you guys only saw the first episode, not the
Yeah,
second.
just the first.
Because I know some premieres they let you see the first and the second.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was hoping we were gonna get the second, but I'm like, all right, it's
All right.
fine.
So can we sound off on the first episode then?
Yes, let's sound off.
I'm gonna let you start.
First off, so the first episode, we see the girls go back.
Spoiler alert, by the way.
Yes,
if you haven't seen
spoiler
it.
alert. Just letting y'all know right now.
Hit up your auntie for the HBO password.
So we see the girls go to Stanford, their alma mater, and they're going because Issa has been. It's a homecoming. I think it's homecoming or something like that. And Issa D, the character, has been invited back to come speak. She's going to be on a panel. And it was a reflective moment for her and where she's at, where she's at in her career and the things that, she feels like she should have attained by now. And she still doesn't have it all figured out, which I think is something that a lot of people can relate to. I know I relate to Issa D a lot.
Yeah.
And so we see the girls and there's some very funny moments. I don't want to give like one of the main moments away, but shout out to Taja V. Simpson, who was the guest star on this episode. She was the friend.
Okay.
The wild ass friend who went to college with her, with them. Watch it for that, because that moment was I was not expecting that. But then at the end, we see where Lawrence and Issa are at. And at first, they give you this assumption that all things are good and everything. And then they
Dum,
take it
dum,
away
dum,
from us in less than 3 minutes.
Okay. Okay. So I appreciated the episode. There were certain parts of it, I'm very critical. I'm
Yeah.
always going to be critical. I still loved it nonetheless. For me, it was nostalgic
Mhm.
because, I went to San Jose State at that time, where the time frame in which they were supposed to had been there.
Yeah.
And San Jose State was right up the street from Stanford. So we all
Mhm.
used to kind of hang out and go to Stanford back and forth. And then the music that they were playing, I was like, yes, that was
Yes.
it.
Yes.
That was what it was.
Yes.
The T-Pains,
Mhm.
that was that
Yep.
generation. It was
The
amazing.
stanky leg.
The stanky leg. Stanky leg was a little after I left that area, but yeah, but it was
Mhm.
great just to see that. Saw some familiar faces on the screen, which I thought was dope. That Issa and her people, they're very communal with all the actors
Mhm.
that they work with. I thought that was amazing. Um, the crazy girl,
Taja.
there was just it was kind of like the way it ended with her was like, really? I
Yeah.
thought that was a reach,
Mhm.
but it's true to Issa's
Ain't shit
point.
changed.
It was a reach for me. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, and so but I do like that, how they reflected and how, they kind of covered all their bases with the other characters,
Mhm.
including baby girl,
Kelly.
Kelly. Yes. I
Mhm.
love Kelly's character. So I thought we got to see slightly a more serious side of Kelly, which was great.
Yeah.
The one thing that did perplex me was the outrage over Amanda Seales.
Amanda Seales being an AKA
Being
and
an
donning
AKA.
the colors and the shield at one point.
Yeah, like
Relax. I'm
if y'all don't chill out, like if y'all don't
she's
chill
playing a
out.
character. Why what and if, of all things, the lashing out at such a positive show created by a Black woman
Right.
that's really putting to light a lot of excellent Black creatives. Like, it'd be one thing if they were tarnishing the brand. That's not what was happening here.
I think what it is that there's some people that just hate Amanda Seales, and they just don't want to see her.
And I get
garnishing
that.
those- representing those colors.
I can see how she isn't
She's
particularly
controversial.
she's controversial. She's not a
Yeah.
likable person by a lot of people.
But
But
her
granted,
character.
be that what it may, she's talented.
Yes.
She's contributed to this show, and like, relax. Like, she didn't write the character.
Thank
She just
you.
plays it.
Thank
So I
you.
think a lot of the backlash is being directed at the wrong person.
It's
But
completely unwarranted.
it's unwarranted, period, in my opinion. I'm
Yeah.
not a soror. I'm not, in a Greek
I
affiliation.
appreciated it because
So
sometimes I do get annoyed when I watch certain things and I see these fake fraternities that
Yeah.
like Alpha Kappa Nu.
yeah.
Like it's kind of annoying. It's like let's pay
Yeah.
homage to the Divine Nine. Like
Right, exactly.
let's put it in the light. And I
Yeah.
didn't think she represented it wrong. And she was. I mean, let's just be all the way 100. She's the stereotypical AKA.
If we keeping it all the way real, I mean, the AKAs I went to college with.
Me too.
Yeah.
And I technically was supposed to be one, but they weren't on my campus. So,
But like,
yeah, that was crazy.
like I say, like, it'd be one thing if they were tarnishing the brand, or if they wrote out the character to be this terrible person. That's not what it is. She's a pretty dignified person. She's
Right.
married. She's got
She's
the
educated.
child.
She's
The
married.
girl looks good. Like,
Looked
I mean, the
great.
budget was up for the wardrobe this
Thank you.
season. She looked impeccable. That dress, that
Yeah.
Gucci dress, that big green and pink Gucci dress. I said, mama's.
Look, child, I'm in my mind, I'm an AKA in my head, and
Right,
I would have just
like-
been proud. Like, okay, y'all represent it.
Yeah.
So I really don't see what the big.
From what I've seen on Twitter, there's been a lot of AKAs who've come out and say, like, they didn't have a problem with this at
Right.
all. Like, if anything, they
Stop
felt
coming for
honored and they
Amanda.
felt excited for it. Again, I respect everyone's opinion and everybody's right to feel upset or whatever, outraged. But
do something else.
choose your
with it.
battles, because
That
there's
ain't
so
it.
much. There's so much. Like, we're fighting racism and colorism. There's so many other things happening in the world, and this is the hill you die on.
Yeah,
Come on.
I can see if they would have made it like a fake sorority.
Right.
And then use the colors and
Right.
use the symbolism of it, but they were true to form, and I'm sure they got clearance to do so
Mhm.
from someone in the upper rankings of the sorority.
There was that funny tweet. Somebody tweeted, and she was a soror, and she said how I am so offended, and she tagged Issa and HBO. She's like, y'all better not let this happen again. And Issa quote tweeted it, and she's like, oh, for real, snap, let me go hit up HBO right now for these next few episodes. Because what's gonna happen? Y'all gonna pull it? Y'all not gonna do nothing. Like,
I don't understand. You guys,
you know what?
I'm over it. But yeah, no, shout out to Insecure. What I was Only thing I was disappointed about was that we didn't get like a whole season preview. You know how
Yeah.
normally, like after the first episode, it'd be like, "This is what's happening on this season." Like, I
No, but
really
yes,
wanted
we
to.
did
I didn't
at
see
the
it.
end.
I didn't see it.
Yes.
Well, I watched it on demand,
Oh, okay. No. We gotta watch. I watched it on HBO.
so they didn't give it to me
Yeah.
okay.
Well, they showed it at Insecure Fest, but then I watched the episode again
live.
on HBO on Max. Yeah.
So that's what it is.
And yes,
The
so if you have
disrespect.
HBO Max, yeah,
Okay.
they'll show you this season on
Okay.
Insecure.
Well, we'll check that out.
And there's a lot. I mean, from that sizzle that I'm looking forward to seeing.
Okay. Well, we'll definitely check back in maybe midway, and then
Shout out to Insecure. Shout out to
Yes.
Issa Rae
Yes.
and the entire cast, the entire crew.
And she just said 5 years was always the plan. 5 seasons, and that
Yeah.
was it. She wanted to go out with a bang, you know, and I respect it. And you know,
Mhm.
more power to her and everything that she's doing. So,
Yeah.
I want to get into this next show that premiered last week.
Oh, which
You
one?
spoke about it a little bit when I was out, so I did check out Queens.
Queens.
I've been watching. I've been tuning in. I'm a complete Brandy stan as well as an Eve stan.
Yeah, I love
From
Eve.
the soil.
Yeah.
So I was quite I don't want to say excited because I was nervous about it because it's like a network show.
Yeah,
Sometimes
ABC.
you know you get that empire-ish
Right.
vibe to
Yeah.
it. So just my report of it, I love Brandy to pieces. The woman doesn't age. Like I said, I want to give her all her flowers. Same thing for Eve. I'm halfway feeling it.
Yeah.
Halfway.
I'm loving it.
The second episode was much better than the first.
I haven't seen the second episode yet. What I will say is, first off, if you don't know, so Queens is a new drama D. Yeah, I guess it's like a drama D on ABC, a 1 hour like starring Eve, Brandy, Naturi Naughton, and Nadine Velasquez. They were a hip hop girl group.
Yeah, that
about
surprised
20
me.
years ago.
Yeah, that's
and then so the show is about their resurgence into relevancy by a mishap because somebody sampled, like a younger artist sampled their song, and so now we're looking at them in their lives completely turned around because like one is like a church woman and she's saintly, and the other one is married with like 5 kids. So their careers have gone completely in different directions, and so now they're coming back, and we're looking at the dynamics of why the group broke up. And the thing about it, of first episode, is that maybe a lot of that story felt a little rushed.
Yeah.
Because I think they wanted us to catch up and just jump into the real meat of the story.
Yeah.
Which is probably why episode 2 was better than episode 1. So I'll give it that. But for the most part, I do like it. I like the girls that are rapping. Like I really like. I love Eve. Period. And I think Brandy does a pretty good job herself. I'm a fan of Naturi, and I've worked with Nadine. Nadine is an absolute delight.
Where did Nadine come from? I don't recall seeing her before.
So she was in a movie called The Bounce Back with Shamar Moore and Bill Bellamy. And I worked the Hollywood premiere of that.
Okay.
At the Chinese Hollywood Theater.
Okay.
And so so a delight. She's known, I think, in other productions, maybe more like indie films, but she's talented. I like Nadine.
Got it.
But the show was good to me. I
like I said, I appreciated it. Just like I appreciated Empire. You know, it's just I hope we just, like I said, we keep giving these ladies who we love and adore the proper platform to be great.
Yeah.
And you know, everything is just gonna go so well, I hope. And I just love Brandy. I just love her voice.
We have a guest on the show.
We do have a guest. We have a couple of people coming in. But yeah, I'm excited for all the content and everything. And now we get to talk about sex. You see, I'm nervous.
Wait, we have one more. Go ahead, throw on Alvinus. Get him in here.
Alvinus is in the building. I don't think
wait,
we got to put your mic on, boo. Got to put your mic on.
There we go.
What's up, y'all?
There we go.
Hi.
There we go.
I'm back.
Speaking, but before we get off of Insecure again, I was able to take Alvinus with me to an event.
Oh yeah, that was
last
amazing.
weekend. LA Confidential, the magazine, has Jay Ellis as the cover. He's on the cover, and so they did an event, a promotional event to celebrate that. So I had Alvinus tag along to meet the boys of Insecure.
That was actually my first premiere, or
his first
Hollywood
industry
event, and I've probably been the one when I was in my 20s, but
really,
yeah, no,
it was fun, right?
It was fun. It was fun.
The drinks was free, the food was free. There was a liquor sponsor,
right? Spoiled.
And my favorite, what's his name, Kendrick. Oh
Mhm.
yeah.
Kendrick Sampson.
Oh yeah.
He was
Kendrick
there.
I took a picture with him.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna stop missing out on these
Ah.
events. Okay.
I'm sure you've had your fun.
Man, I'm in a new position and era in my life at the moment, but I get to live vicariously through you all, so
Yeah.
that's all that matters. But
For
yeah.
the last flashlight, we're talking about Zendaya and her being only in 7 minutes of the new movie Dune,
Oh,
and
God.
Twitter is upset. According to BuzzFeed, give us more Zendaya. The sci-fi adaptation of Dune hit theaters and HBO Max this weekend, starring indie darling Timothée Chalamet and Disney star turned powerhouse Zendaya. At least it seemed to star Timothy and Zendaya based on the press tour, red carpets, photos from, etc. I thought,
I saw her all up in
I
the
Yeah.
thought she was
commercials.
gonna be in it like a
but
lot
in
more.
in all actuality, Zendaya, who plays Chani, appears in 7 minutes total of
Wow.
the film, a good amount of which is just glorified perfume ads of her face in the desert, as Timothy's character Paul has visions of her. And so because of it, there's like a lot of really funny tweets saying like, where the hell is Zendaya?
Getting her check.
Yeah,
And going
like,
about her
She got
okay.
it and got out.
There's actually going to be a sequel to which her character will be much more prominently shown, but I think because of the build up of it, and, Zendaya is a very much loved person in Hollywood.
I'm so
like
proud of her.
7 minutes.
Oakland girl, that's
Yeah.
what we do.
Is it wrong that I keep falling asleep on that?
No, because I think I attempted to watch it with you one
Yeah,
time, and I
yeah.
I couldn't.
I've tried to watch it like 4 times since that time, and I keep falling
Thanks for the
asleep.
heads up.
Yeah.
I'll have
It's
some coffee.
really
before.
sci-fi. It's a lot more centered around the music, if anything.
Interesting.
The music is intense. It's supposed to intensify every scene, and I'm just like, you guys aren't doing anything but talking.
Well, we'll have we'll have like a
Yeah.
whole flashlight topics where we're just talking about some of these films and movies
Yeah.
and just sounding off on it. But
I just want to read one really funny tweet by
Go.
@MacDoesIt.
uh-huh.
He says the credits were longer than Zendaya's camera time in Dune.
But who got paid more to make the credits or Zendaya? on the
Okay.
screen? Child. Go ahead, Zendaya. I'm not mad at all.
Oh man.
But yes, but I am excited to get into our main discussion.
Flashing light.
Sorry, I had to hit that
You know,
for the end.
you heard me. But yeah, so you guys, again, I'm very I don't want to say nervous. I'm kind of shy, but I'm excited at the same time to be having this conversation. We
Yeah.
already had it on the calendar
Mhm.
to have this talk, and it was all Josh's idea. I'm gonna just put you out there.
Yep.
With that.
Of course,
It sure was. I've been asking for this since 2 seasons ago. I was like,
Right.
we need to have a sex episode.
And I was like, because Sharik's very private and
Yeah.
kind of bashful.
I am too, to a degree, but you know
But
what?
it's necessary.
People like talking about sex.
It's necessary. So coincidentally today, something kind of stirred up and came about that we definitely want to talk about. But before we do that, I want to go ahead and bring on our guest. She's so amazing. I tracked her down and I stalked her for like 24 hours. Her name is Marla Renee Stewart, MA. Okay, MA, baby.
Bam,
She
bam.
is a professional sexologist, speaker, author, and sexual strategist. She is the owner of Velvet Lips, a sexuality education company, as well as Contract Liberation, a company focused on research for nonprofit groups. She also is a lecturer at Clayton State University, teaching sociology and women's and gender studies. As the co-founder of the Sex Down South Conference, I need to go. Marla aims to bring diverse groups together to learn and share their experiences and the essence of being authentic and fostering sexual liberation across community. And sex therapy is coming in 2021. Everyone, please welcome Miss Marla Stewart.
Yes, Miss Stewart.
I think you're muted, hun. Hit your unmute.
Hey, how are you?
Hi, how
Hi,
are
Marla.
you?
Hi.
So happy. I know it's late where you are, so we really appreciate.
Yeah, she's on the East Coast, y'all.
It's bedtime.
It's late.
But this is the perfect time to have these conversations,
Yes.
right? A
Mhm.
little privatized conversation. But yeah, so we wanted to bring you in. Just go ahead and tell everybody. I know I did your bio. If you wanted to expound a little bit more about what it is that you do and what your mission is when it comes to dating and sex and gender studies.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. So, what I'm first and foremost probably a sexologist and sexual strategist, and I help people specifically around seduction, communication, and sex skills. So, really helping couples, folks in relationships, single folks, to really understand who they are, to be more self-aware, and to give them all the tools so they can please themselves and please their lovers. So,
I love
um, That's what
Okay.
I do.
So
Okay.
how did you get into this line of work?
I got into this line of work very organically. I started studying human sexuality in college, and my friends would come to me for their questions about everything. I've always been a very open book, just very open about who I am, about what I do. And so my friends from all just came to me, and apparently I gave great advice. And I was like, okay, this needs to be my job. So,
Mhm.
That's
um,
where it starts.
yeah, exactly. And so then when I got to graduate school, I just started my business. And what it is when I say I'm a sexual strategist, it's a combination of comprehensive sex ed, sex therapy, and somatic body work. So
Mm.
it's not only like theory, but it's also practice and making sure that, like I say, people get what they need, not only mentally, emotionally, but physically, spiritually as well.
Wonderful,
Nice.
wonderful. In terms of like working with couples, do you work with couples like do
Uh,
you do therapy for just them, or did we lose her?
No. I don't know.
Are you there, Marla?
Hello.
I think we have a technical difficulty. Oh no. Oh,
Oh
there she
no.
is. She's
oh,
back.
Oh,
There you are.
I was like, what happened? Sorry.
It's a little technical difficulty. No, I was just asking in terms of like, do you work with couples as well? Do you do like one-on-one couples work, and as well as obviously with individual work? Is that something you're passionate about as well?
Oh yeah, yeah. I work with people in relationships. So not only couples, but polyamorous, folks,
Mm.
folks in open relationships, and singles as well. So it's just whoever needs the help and needs to, better their sex lives, I'm here for it.
I love it. I love
I
it.
love it. Well, then I'm sure that you, Marla, are going to have quite some insight into the main topic that we want to get into in regards to what we've seen come out in the media recently in regards to Jada Pinkett Smith and her conversation with Gwyneth Paltrow on the Red Table Talk. So she came out and she basically said that communicating her sexual needs with Will, even to this day, is a it's
A
still,
struggle.
yeah, it's a struggle.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's still difficult. Do you find that to be kind of like the typical scenario in long-term relationships still?
Absolutely, absolutely. For some reason, people are afraid because they don't want to hurt their partner's feelings. They don't want if their relationship is going good, they don't want it to change. They just really just are afraid of what it might entail. And I mean, if they're your partner, most likely they're going to have some sort of understanding. But
Mhm.
a lot of times people struggle with confrontation or
Mhm.
conflict. A lot of people want to avoid that instead of facing it head on. And that isn't healthy, right?
Right.
Because
Right.
things can fester, you can build resentment. There's all
Mhm.
sorts of things that might happen. So, but yeah, it doesn't matter who you are. I mean, Will and Jada, I mean, they're celebrities, but they are human,
Exactly.
and so they are going to go through the same things that other people who
Mhm.
aren't celebrities go through.
Yeah. Yeah.
So absolutely,
Would
yeah.
you say that there's even maybe a component of shame involved in regards to
Mm.
maybe being embarrassed to tell your partner something that you want or that you need sexually? Is that something that you feel comes up a lot in couples?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Because, you don't want people to think you're weird or anything like
Mm.
that. So
Mhm.
sometimes like things that are normally taboo, or if, for instance, I've had people who struggle with religious trauma, right? So
Mm.
I wrote a chapter
Girl,
that's coming
Marla.
out in December.
Oh
But
no.
when you have, religious trauma, that can really, it has that stigma, that shame that can really hurt your sexual health.
Mhm.
And so, and people act out in all sorts of ways. So I really help people to release a lot of that shame, a lot of that stigma, to help build up their sexual confidence, and and yeah, so it does affect people. a lot.
Yeah, definitely. And then being, being a woman of color, you mentioned trauma from religious trauma. I definitely, as a Black woman, feel as though Black women specifically, we have our own traumas, just from, being a young Black woman growing up in the inner city and the things that we have to deal with and we have to confront. Do you find that you have to kind of break those things down with Black women at times as well?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially here in the South, so the
Mm,
Southern Belle,
mm,
wanting to, oh, I was taught not to do this, or I was
right,
taught I needed to be like this, or I needed to
right.
be prim and proper, or whatever. Absolutely. There's a lot of that
Yeah.
in the
Mm,
South. And it really, like I said, it really hurts people
Yeah.
because then they're like, I don't know how to be myself. Or if I am myself, then maybe my family will shun me or they won't like
mm,
me, or I can't be my full self.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And I think it's important. I mean, I'm from the West Coast. I'm from California, San
You
Francisco,
know.
and Sacramento.
Oh
So it's
yeah.
like,
Hey, hey.
yeah. So for me, like coming to the South, like I'm always me. I've never not been me.
Yeah.
And so when people see me or they're like, "Oh my gosh, you talk about everything and you say like there's no
Mm,
shame there." And I'm just like, "No, I didn't grow up with shame. I didn't That's something I didn't experience. My mom was a very much sex positive parent.
mm,
So I would say she's the one who was like, she was like, you're going to get horny as a teenager. This is what you need to do to be sexually responsible. So she
wow.
taught me, like, this is what you need to do to protect yourself. This is how you navigate that. Like, she uh, gave those lessons to me so that I would become, I would say, a sexually responsible adult.
Yeah.
And so, when I came to the South, it was sort of like, you're you. Like, yeah,
Who else am I
absolutely.
supposed to
The
be?
audacity.
Yeah. Yeah, but a lot of people hold back from who all the things, right?
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
way that I talk to you is the way that I talk to my mom. You know what I
Mhm,
mean? Like
mhm.
I
I can
don't
put my mama like that.
Yeah.
yeah, I don't like try to be one way or try to be this person and try to be
Yeah.
that person. The way talk to my students is the way that I talk to everybody else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
Marla, I'm from Louisiana, born and raised, and I mean I'm one of those people, deep South, New Orleans, and I also grew up Southern Baptist, and
mm,
I'm queer. And so I'm definitely like I'm one of those people who has that religious trauma that I grew up with because there was I mean plenty of times for me growing up feeling like I couldn't be my full authentic
Mm,
self,
mhm.
and there was never an example for me that allowed me to even explore what that journey looked like until I left. And
Yeah.
so I absolutely get that because it's like sexually, I grew up in shame. There was
mm,
nobody that was we were taught abstinence.
Mm.
We were taught you got
right.
to save yourself for marriage. And the thing is, I'm suppressing this idea of what I should be doing for something that the church doesn't even condone to begin with. So what was I saving myself from? What? Like you know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
So it's like in that instance, and I know for a lot of queer people, like that's something that comes up.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I have to be honest too, because with me being in the entertainment industry and then me being raised the way that I was raised, it's so funny. I'm listening to Gabrielle Union's new book right now. And there's a whole chapter, mind you, she's a rape victim,
Hmm.
but she gets really brutally honest about that. She was raised in the Bay Area as well. She talks about before she went to college, she had a very candid conversation with a young older man that said, whatever you do, don't smash the first semester, and how that just was ingrained in her brain over and over and over. And I just remember being told similar things like that, but then, of course, we're all explorative. We want to
Right.
explore, we want to learn our bodies, we want to know what's out there. And then it's always in our face. So, with that being said, being in the entertainment industry, I feel like there's this sexual liberation that's happening, so to speak. So, there's a part of me that's like, yes, yes, yes. And then there's still that underlying part of me that's like, no, this is too much, like, and I struggle with that sometimes, and maybe me and you need to have a session because like I love Lizzo, but sometimes she makes me clutch my pearls, and so I'm like, I'm wondering, is it too much? Should we just appreciate it for what it is? And then, we always hear, oh, well, what about the kids? What are we teaching the kids?
Yeah.
That's the part that I'm kind of concerned about in a way too, because of course you said you were taught in the way that you were taught. Not every child is taught that. And then I feel like they grow up to have these unhealthy expectations from sexual relationships. So that's my rant. But I'm just curious what you think specifically with the entertainment industry and what's going on more recently, specifically with Black women in hip hop too.
Yeah. So there's a couple things because I think about being on TV, right? And like my appearances, when I was on Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, or when I was did the Netflix, the Trigger Warning with Killer Mike, like those were like, they accepted me for who I was. But when I went on like personal injury court for GPB, Georgia Public Broadcasting, they were like, cover up your tattoos. You can't I had to tone it down, right? Yeah. And it was like, TV tends to, I think sometimes TV tends to, you need to tone down who you are if you are maybe super creative, or you look like me with a bunch of tattoos and piercings and things, right? Like, it's sort of like, you are not, daytime TV is not ready for you, right? But I think there's a lot of television like that. I just was asked recently to give a kink lesson for a TV show, and they were like, so how does it work? Like, so do you have your own outfit? And I was like, yes. Do you have your own equipment? Yes. You're like, do you have, okay. Like, they're like, nobody's familiar with this. And so it's very odd to me that there are so many people in television, but like, it's sort of disconnected from sexuality, or what the different aspects of sexuality are. But like you said, I think a lot of TV people are like you, like a lot of TV producers are like, oh, that's too much. Oh my goodness. Like, too much. Like,
I think what it is we like it for the entertainment and shock value. But then when you have to get real about it, that's when it's like, oh no, like, what do we do? And that's why I appreciate, Gwyneth Paltrow, who has this Goop Lab on Netflix. Have you checked it out at all?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, my friend is on there, Mina Peterson.
What do you think of it? You like it? You think she's doing a good job, or?
Yeah. I think it's great that they've allowed people to explore through their lens of what is going on, or like the different kinds of, goop that the world has to offer. And I think that can be very valuable for people who can see another way of tapping into their sexuality, or, tapping into their own self-awareness about who they are. So I think it's very valuable in that sense.
Wonderful. Yeah, because she talks about, she got psychedelics and all kind of stuff going on. I'm like, okay, Gwyneth, I didn't know you had it in you, honey.
But that's the beauty about sex and sexual liberation. Is like there's so much more than just one and done. When you really truly explore sexuality and what you can do with sex, it's so intriguing. I mean,
because it's not just sex. That's
right. No, it's an experience. Right. And that experience can be felt in a variety of different ways.
What advice would you give someone who is not as sexually experienced as others, or who wants to be and doesn't know how to start?
That's a good question.
So I think for someone who's just starting off and wanting to be a sexual person, I would say read my book. The Ultimate Guide to Seduction and Foreplay. You said what?
What's the website where we get it at?
You can get on Amazon. Okay. Yeah, I sold out on my website, but hopefully I'll get some soon back. But you can get on Amazon. Or your local feminist bookstore, or your local Black bookstore.
Love it.
But I think asking yourself questions first about what your wants are, what your needs are, what you desire, what makes you feel good. Because sometimes people who are not experienced get into relationships and then realize, oh, wait, maybe I don't like that, or this isn't. And then they have trouble getting out of a relationships, and they end up being there and then building resentment. It's kind of this bad cycle.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I would say discover who you are, what you want, who you want to be with, and figure those things out. Um, figure those things out. And then
Without
I
shame.
would say masturbation, knowing who you are, like as far as masturbate, know what your body does when it's turned on, when it's aroused.
Mhm.
Um, and and then play, like flirt. I think, yeah, it's up to everybody, but I think you should explore. I feel like the more sexual experience you have, the better you are at sex, in
I
general.
mean,
So
listen.
you learn just a lot of things about a lot of different people and a lot
No,
of different types of
right.
bodies. And
Mhm.
so I think that's really important. Um, Yeah, because I mean, I've been in situations where I'm having to coach someone who that's their only lover, and then it ends up like not being satisfying, and how to satisfy, and it's
Jada.
really it's a longer trek or a harder trek because of the eggshells thing, not wanting to hurt the partner, and all
Right.
of these different things. Um, and sometimes, like, if you get into kind of like, oh, let's have sex once we get married, it's like, what if your genitals don't match up?
Mm.
What if
Right.
you're allergic to semen? Or what if you're, like,
Just
what
don't
if there's a situation that arises that is not going to be good for you? So,
Wait, is that a thing? Can people be allergic to semen?
absolutely.
Oh wow. Okay, more on that later. I'm glad that you brought up masturbation because like I'll be a little candid right now and I'll speak, but I think I've pushed uh certain limits for myself in regards to masturbation and self-pleasure, and I've expanded on that a bit, and I've discovered, in several instances that I please myself better than a partner.
because you know yourself.
Right, but I mean, like when I'm younger and first discovering my body, it was just kind of like you're just getting a nut.
Right.
But like in it where I'm at now, and what I've experimented with and stuff, it's kind of like I've discovered this new way to orgasm. There's kind of like a mental thing of where I place sex in my own pleasure. And it's very liberating, if you ask me. From my own experience, it
go.
feels very because I'm in control of that 100%.
You have
And I
the
love
Yep.
that.
You have the power.
Yep.
I have a
Absolutely.
too, because okay, so there's two sides of the spectrum. So you mentioned those who are probably with a partner and maybe they've been with them for so long and they're not completely satisfied. What do you say to those who are out there that are stuck in a situationship with someone because the sex is quote unquote too bomb?
Like too good.
Too good. They can't get.
Oh, I've been in this situation so many times.
What would be your
I've been there
best
too.
advice, in order, because I mean, I don't want to be stereotypical of men and women, but sometimes I do feel as though women can have the potential to be in a sexual relationship without any feelings. But for those who get caught up and can't let go because it's too great, what do they do?
And they don't like the rest of the relationship.
No.
Right.
They gotta go.
They
They
gotta
gotta
go.
go, because guess what? There's always gonna be someone that's gonna be really great at sex. So
Yeah.
I think it's more important to leave because those other elements aren't there,
Yeah.
So I definitely think that I've been in that situation. Oh, more times than I care to share. I've been with a lot of homosexuals.
Oh,
I've been with a lot
child.
of I've been just,
I've been there too, Marla. I've been there.
You got a roommate, huh? Like, where did you move in?
slowly moving into my house, like,
Oh
so
man.
um,
Wow.
I just, yeah, like I just think that you have to leave, because then you can get the space to find someone else who actually can fulfill not only your sexual needs, but those mental and emotional needs as well. So
Definitely.
Yeah.
um
I have a
leave, go, hurry.
Right,
Run.
Get out.
Run.
Yes.
I had a question about like the build up to sex, and even going down to like the baseline of just like flirting.
Mm.
Um, especially when today flirting is so different. It's on Instagram, it's on the likes, it's on a number of different
It's on sliding in the DMs.
right,
Right.
social
So
media
accessible.
driven.
Hinge.
um what advice would you give to the listeners that are having trouble just dating and initiating those first interactions?
Well, I think you're talking about strictly online.
Well, yes, and then for the ones who go out. And,
Okay.
They're dealing with
and
a
then,
society that's now conditioned to only flirt online.
Right.
right,
You know,
right,
maybe we're losing some of those interactive
yeah,
skills.
yeah.
Yeah. So, the extroverts are out there, number one.
Mhm.
So they are out there, and people do still go out, right? But
Mhm.
I would say number one is learning how to connect with people. So, in the book, I talk about the seduction learning styles, and it's really a way to flirt and really a way to connect with someone so that you are giving them what they need
Mhm.
and you are getting something also in return. So it's a mutually beneficial flirtation. Um, and so I would say if you are going to be sliding in the DMs of someone, make sure that you are interesting, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what kinds of interesting things are great about you, but also what do you want to know that's interesting about that person? A lot of times
Mhm.
people be like, "Hello," or "Hi," or "How are you?" or small talk, but it's bull, it's I don't know if you cuss on here, but
But go
We
ahead.
do.
it,
We do.
it's, it's just it's not it doesn't go anywhere. I
Mhm.
know a lot of times when I was like dating on the apps, it wasn't going anywhere. Nobody was doing nothing. It was just sad.
Mhm.
And I was like, let's meet up. And they would be like, well, I'd like to talk a little bit more first. For what?
What?
Like, for what? Like,
I
why
agree.
are you wasting my time? Either we can meet in person. I need to know what you smell like
Okay.
because if I don't like the way you smell, I don't want to. I'm done. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So,
Or even
um,
I would even go as far as to say, at least let's do a FaceTime chat. Let's set up a
Yeah.
FaceTime date, for safety purposes or whatever, especially now with
yeah,
COVID and stuff. But I think you're right. If you leave a conversation in the app, it stays stagnant. And what ends up
right.
happening is, especially on these dating apps, because they're so gamified, it's
Mhm.
like, you know, you match with somebody else and it pushes the conversation down. And then what ends up happening? You never meet that person. And then, oh, they stopped talking to me. Well, no, like no one was proactive in the initial part of it to meet up or to have that conversation and really see if you can connect or not, because you're not going to go anywhere if it stays in the app.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think that's part of it, right? Is connecting and being initiating, like, hey, let's meet up. Let's
Mhm.
meet up somewhere. Let's FaceTime first or whatever, and then let's meet up somewhere.
Yeah,
Let's get this going. And I think if it doesn't get going, then you got to keep moving.
yeah,
And I think that's the sad part is just the keeping of the moving, because say you see someone and you're like, oh, you're super cute, and then
right.
if you don't meet up, then it's gone and the magic fades. And and so with the research, we are connected because of proximity.
Mhm.
Hmm.
So the internet makes us feel like we are connected, and we are. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure many of you have like internet friends that you've never met but
Yep,
are only have online.
several.
It's sort of like you have these internet friends and they make you feel connected, and that feels good because like the dopamine and all of the things that you're getting from that. However, if you were to meet them in person, would it still feel the same? We
uh,
don't know.
yeah,
So
Mhm.
same with intimate relationships, you've got to meet them in person because like I said, they could kiss bad, they could smell bad, they could not be pleasing to you. They might do something that you don't like,
yeah,
that they could easily hide behind the internet. So I think it's more important than ever to try to meet up, especially because most people are doing their matching on the internet.
yeah.
Yeah. The world we live in. I love that you mentioned flirting. a lot. It seems like that's an emphasis, and I didn't really think about it until now. Like that's kind of a part of sex.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh
flirting
yeah.
is a very important part of sex. So
Yeah.
I love that you mentioned it because now I'm thinking, I'm like, oh, flirting is actually a really
I
good
think
thing.
it's and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think flirting is an ongoing thing, even when you're
Right.
with your partner. Like
Yep.
that's the build up to sex. If you can't flirt with me, if you can't get me in the mood after a
What are
long
we
day,
doing?
what are we doing?
Yeah, and I think
Yep.
people struggle with flirting. So, do you come across that, and do you help guide and navigate people through the flirting process?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I had a client that he was like, "Okay, how do I connect?" And so I was like, "Tell me a situation that you had." And so he went up to this woman and he was like, he saw a book that she was reading. The book was really, it was one of his favorite books. So he's like, "Oh, I love that book. It's one of my favorite books." And and she was like, "Oh my gosh, yeah, I love this and this." And she starts talking, talking, talking. Well, he interrupts her and then starts talking about his life. And lo and behold, I was like, that was not the thing to do.
Womp womp.
I was like, yeah, want me lost it because number one, you have to understand you have to understand who you are, which is an auditory person. Auditory people tend to talk a lot. And
Mhm.
then you met someone who was also auditory. So you asked her a question, she went off.
Mhm.
So instead of listening and giving feedback or asking questions about what she said, you decided to interrupt and tell your own story and not even listen to anything
Mm.
she said.
Yeah.
And so that's bad flirting.
Right.
That you don't want to do that, right?
Yeah.
So you really need to be able to understand and connect to people in the way that they need connection.
Yeah.
So that's why I say the seduction learning styles really helps.
I
Would
love
you say
that.
that is like the biggest go to, like people interrupt people and don't know how, like when they
Alvin is
don't know how
having
to flirt?
experience.
I don't know how to flirt. I'm being honest. I mean, I'm trying to say it without saying it.
He is lying.
I do
He
not.
is lying. I've seen him do it. Don't let him fool
That's
you.
that liquid courage. That's what it is. When I'm
Oh,
when I'm lit, it's different. But when it comes down to being one on one, I'm really clam
mm.
up. I'm really shy, um, which a lot of people don't believe. Like nobody believes it.
Girl, I've seen him out. Don't let him fool
That's
you.
what I'm saying. Out.
He's
Extrovert. I'm an
gaslighting.
extrovert when I'm out, but when I'm behind closed doors, I'm very
There's a
shy.
difference.
I don't
There's a
even know how to
difference.
initiate sometimes. I'm just like here, like twiddling my thumbs, what happened? Okay.
Oh man.
Yeah. So there's a variety of ways to flirt. But like I said, it all depends. Like if they're a tactile person, that maybe means that you need to, sit close to them or see how they move or take them somewhere where they need to touch. Or if they're visual, that means, giving them eye contact, flirting that way. I mean, I'm a flirt, so I flirt with anybody that I can flirt with. But when I met my wife, like I was like, going in, right? It was like, it's like, how do I say whatever I need to say to make sure she gives me her number by the time this conversation is done, right?
Mhm.
So, like, and so I think and flirting is a dance, right? So
Yes.
sometimes you need to be able to understand the social cues,
Yeah.
which
Mhm.
if we're behind the internet, there's a lot of folks who are now socially awkward who are unable to flirt in person because they've been behind the keyboard and we're just so conditioned around being, on the internet. So I think it takes practice. But maybe it does take a little bit of liquid courage, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's perfectly okay
Yeah.
to help loosen up and get those inhibitions down. So but I just think it's a lot of it is just practice,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
Marla, the last thing I want to get into before we end
Because
is
we can go all
we
night.
can go on, but I did want to
Right.
touch just lightly on polyamory
Mhm.
and where society is with polyamory, because I feel like if you watch enough TV, if you're watching enough programming, you're starting to see, you know,
Yeah.
language,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
language
Yeah.
happening
Mm-hmm.
that's trying to normalize it,
Yeah.
which I think should be happening because I
Mm-hmm.
think it's we're so quick to yuck somebody's yum or whatever people are doing in their relationships. But you're starting to see that. And I really wanted to get your take on that and how that's being, for lack of better words, introduced because it's been around for a long time. But I
Since the
think
beginning of
now it's
time.
starting to be become more of a mainstream conversation that we're starting to see. Good case in point with Will and Jada, and then starting to become a little more candid about the dynamics of their marriage.
Right.
But I'd love to hear, what you would like to speak generally about polyamory where we're at as a society with
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we've in the past there's always been societies that have been non-monogamous, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think when it came down to and polyamory is a fairly new word, right? Because when we thought of multi-loves, we saw polygamy and we saw cults and
Yeah.
we saw religion, and those things were like a turnoff for majority of people, right? Be
Mm-hmm.
like, that's you
Mm-hmm.
know, but the fact is it has been throughout so many different cultures throughout time.
Mm.
So polyamory, I think it's uh, I I I think it's good for people who have that, who want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's if you're trying to figure out for yourself, like if you're polyamorous or not, just try it.
yeah.
I remember I held two relationships at one time, and I was like, nope, can't do it. I'm not polyamorous. Fuck that. I'm not doing that. Like taking on too many emotions. I'm
Yeah.
no, thank you. So,
And I think that's
uh,
where people get it confused because my father is polyamorous.
mm,
I haven't talked about it too much, but we have discussions, and there's a lot of responsibility that comes with
oh
it.
yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, I'm like you. I'm like that sounds like too much, too many different personalities. I got to check in with people. It just for me, I'm like, oh, child, that's
But I
too much
think
Mhm.
also polyamory could look so differently to
for
so many different
everybody
people.
else.
Like it can
Yeah,
be very varying things.
yeah.
Oh
Like
yeah.
I'll admit that like I've teetered on the line of polyamory and how I've navigated dating here in LA. Like there's someone in my life who I get to see once, maybe twice a year. We're
Mm-hmm.
absolutely in love.
No.
And
Mhm.
we're in love and together in the moments that I see him. And then the rest of the year, it's not
Right.
there. And like to me, that's a form of polyamory that I have. Like this isn't
Yeah.
someone that he and I know that we're not going to build a life together. He and I know that we're not going to get married. Like that's not what we
But you have
have.
that mutual
But the
love.
moment that I see him in that one time a year, like that's ours, you
Yeah.
know? And so like sometimes as I've dated, sometimes I've presented that to guys when I date here locally and be like, by the way, there's someone who's in my life. He will not threaten what's going on here, but I just need you to know this happens like maybe once a year or twice a year, and that's where it stays.
Well, kudos to you for being honest.
I'm
Yeah.
trying to convince my boyfriend tonight to be polyamorous. That's the thing. Tonight we having that conversation.
Okay,
Mhm.
you gonna flirt?
I'm
Huh?
a flirt too. I'm a flirt.
Make sure you talk in your low, sexy, deep
There you
tone.
go. And
Okay.
don't interrupt. Don't interrupt. Well, Miss Marla, thank you so very much. Like I said, we can have this conversation. I know it's really late where you are, so we so appreciate you for
Yes.
coming on. I definitely want everyone to know where to find you. I know you have velvetlipsexed.com, where I just discovered you have a sex bucket list. Can you talk about that briefly and where people can find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can go to my website. You can get the sex bucket list. So it is an erotic activity bucket list where I just list a bunch of activities and you can just mark them off as you please. Or if you have a lover or lovers, you can circle them, do the exercise and then trade off with each other, see, talk about it. I find that to be really helpful for couples and folks in relationships. But yeah. Oh, sorry. But yeah, like you can find all of that on my website. And you can find me on social media, Velvet Lip Sex Ed, or at One Marla Stewart. You can find my book, The Ultimate Guide to Seduction and Foreplay, that I co-wrote with Dr. Jess.
Nice.
Find that anywhere. And yeah, I just say make sure you sign up for my email list or my text
Yes.
list.
I am.
And
Right.
Yeah.
Look, I just followed you.
Marla. I mean, just applause because no, you're incredible. I'm so glad that you came on
She
the
has a
show.
conference as well.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. Please plug your
Six Down
conference
South.
real quick. We might have to come.
Yes, please, please. And you can do your podcast there.
Yes.
A radio show. So yeah, the Sex Down South happens every year. Next year will be our 8th year.
Nice.
Um,
Congratulations.
So it's a 3-day conference. Yep, you learn all day and then we party and have fun at night. So we have our own dungeon. So it's a, it's a fun place.
Okay.
I'll send
Sex
my
down
dad.
south.
Sexdownsouth.com. Mm-hmm.
I'm ready to go there right
He on
now.
it right now.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much,
We
Marla.
got discounted tickets too right now until December. So
Okay. So yes, make sure you guys are going to the website. I'll put it up again. It is velvetlipssexed.com. Please make sure for those of you who are listening and not watching to follow one Marla Stewart. She's an amazing human being and she's beautiful. I just love it.
Aw.
The Black Girl Magic is in the building. So make sure you are following her and thank you guys for tuning in. It's a little hot in here, but I think we had a really productive
Girl, you
and
see me with
wonderful
it. You see me with his fan, huh?
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
so
Alvinus, for
much.
coming in too and asking questions and bringing some humanity into this. So I
of
love it. So
course.
thank you all for tuning in. Catch us next week, and we will see you next time. We signing out.
Wow.
Bye.